This lesson features white birch trees in the winter time. So this is going to be a landscape, and I'm going to teach you a new painting technique. I remember there aren't as many white birches in Kentucky, but I remember in the winter time, a couple of years that I lived in Maine, this was one of the things I really loved about the winter time there, not the amount of snow, was that they had lots of sunny days and lots of snow, and the white birch trees would just it was almost like they were shimmering. It was so beautiful. So I wanted to show you how we're going to do a simple birch tree landscape. And you know, as I've mentioned before, I'm not really all that great at drawing trees, but birch trees don't have branches down close to the ground. So what we're basically going to do is just have trunks going from the top of our paper down to the bottom. And they don't need to be too skinny. In fact, we don't want them too skinny, and your lines don't have to be particularly straight. And you can do another one that sort of goes down like this. It can be just random. And we're going to do, so we're just going to have a march across our paper. Again, don't make them too skinny because then it'll make it harder to paint them. And then we'll do another one right here. Have them be at a little bit of an angle. Oops, I don't want that to go skinnier down at the bottom. The tree will fall over. Okay, I'm going to take my... So we want to have them at some angles. I'm going to make it so you can see it better in terms of the placement, but also in terms of how we're going to paint them. Now you can go over this with a skinny marker if you want, or you can just leave it as pencil. Okay, I'm going to take my eraser and kind of clean this up. Oops. Looks like I need a new eraser. This one's now putting black marks. Oh well, kind of looks like shading on the tree. All right, see, that's the thing about art. You can make all sorts of mistakes look like you meant it. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is I provided you with a small piece of cardboard, and we're going to be using this as a scraper of paint. So you want to have your black acrylic paint on a paper plate, and we're going to practice a little bit. I'm going to move this off. So you're going to dip this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to scrape it, but as you can see, you don't want your paper, your piece of cardboard to have too much paint on it. Okay, so you're going to want to have a scrap piece of paper or another paper plate, And then what you're going to do is you're going to go from the outside in to make your birch tree. So this is almost like dry scraping, right? And just keep practicing until you get the hang of it, and then you can start going on your actual paper. Okay, and then you want to flip it over and go from the other side. Isn't this cool how it's looking like a birch tree? A little too much paint there. All right. And then, I think this is really fun. And then we're going to do the other one. Turn it over. And if you want to get really fancy, you can make it look just a little three-dimensional by just have a little curve when you're scraping. All right. I'm standing up as I do this. Obviously you don't have to, but sometimes it's easier to see. I stand up quite a bit when I paint. Now, if this starts getting a little messed up, you can always turn over. It starts breaking down after a while. The cardboard gets too wet. Okay, last side. Okay. Let's see, I think I'll put a little bit heavier here because I have more heavy scrapes. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry. And while you're letting it dry, you can get out your watercolors and your paint brushes, and we'll do the background. Okay, so now we're ready to do the background, and we're going to have snow down here, but snow, you know, also has some shadows and that kind of thing. So we're going to use a little bit of gray watercolor. Blue sky. I'm going to make it so that it is like the sunrise coming up. So in addition to that blue, I'm going to blend in a little bit of red and yellow and orange. Okay, just to give it some different brighter colors. Okay, so we're going to start with now you can use your solid watercolors, or you know, I like to use the tube just because they show up better on camera. If you're using the tube, you want to make sure that this gray is really light. Okay, and we're just going to paint some of the gray like behind the trees, just a little bit. And I'm going to blot it then, and then put some water over it so that it is really much more diluted. Again, we want this to just be very faint. Just to capture some of the shadows thrown off by the trees. Got that a little too dark. So if you get something too dark, it's no problem. Just put some more water over it and then blot it. There. That's looking better. Okay, so when we're done with that, then we're going to put our blue up here. And I'm going to dilute it quite a bit too. So and then I'm going to take a bigger brush and put water along the area. Just do it section by section because your water will dry up. And then we're going to put blue right over that. And for right now, we're going to paint everything above the snow line blue. And then we'll take our warm colors to make the sunrise. Oops, forgot to put my water. Gotta pay attention here. Now we're ready for color. over to this section and do the water. And then the color. Now up at the top, I've got a little bit of ponding. So take care if that's happening to you, because we are using a lot of water here. Just take your paper toweling and blot it. Okay. So now we're going to put some more water just above the snow line here. And get out our warm colors. And we don't want this to be too big because the sun's just coming up. We want it to be a little more vibrant, right, as it's coming up. Okay, and now we're going to add a little bit of yellow, which is going to give us an orange. And we have everything pretty watery, so there's going to be some spreading. And then we're going to go just some straight yellow. Now I'm going to go back over and use a little more blue. Just to have it pop a little bit more. And see how it's kind of moving around a little bit? That's okay. That's the nature of watercolors. poof that blue up a little bit. All right, and now we let that dry. Now, as I'm looking at it, I'm not really liking this gray here. It's too much of a line. So I'm going to feather that out a little bit. There, that's better. There, so there you have your winter scene. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly did. I think this technique of doing the bark is really fun. But you have to make sure that you are allowing for it to just kind of happen, because there's, with both watercolor and the scraping technique, you don't have total control over what's coming out on the paper. Anyway, take care. Have a great week.